Harley Davidson making bikes for young riders. Let's get into it.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So this video, yes, pure and simply is asking this very question. Are Harley Davidson making motorcycles for the young crowd, the young generation, the new generation, the next generation, whatever term you want to use? Are they making bikes, and will they be making bikes for younger riders, or is it just for old farts like me? Now, if we take the mainstay of Harley Davidson, the Tourers and the Softails, well, absolutely not. I mean, they used to have the older Sportsters, of course, and you know, the 883, I suppose, you know, was considered an entry-level motorcycle, but still quite expensive. Certainly, if you're considering new riders or young riders. But obviously they've been scrapped now, well, for the most part, and they've got the Revolution Max Sportster S and the Nightster, of course, that have taken over the mantle. But they are, again, they're expensive motorcycles. Yes, of course, if you're a young person who's got quite a bit of money behind them, you've got a good job, yes, of course you can afford these motorcycles if that's what floats your boat. But most of these bikes are really going to be targeted towards the older generation, certainly plus 30s, plus 40s. So young people even interested in Harley Davidsons, I certainly don't think they'll be riding these. And maybe when they get older, but certainly not as a young person. And most young people, well, certainly that I'm aware of, don't really have that much money, certainly to afford to buy something like that, or a Tourer, 30,000-40,000 pound dollar machine. I don't think so. Now, of course, anybody can go and buy a used machine. Yes, of course they could, and younger riders could do that. They could just buy an older Sportster and an 883, a 1200, whatever it might be, and just make do with that. And absolutely, there's no problem with that. In fact, there's some great machines and great buys out there. But again, let's just take it from a purely financial point of view. You've really got to be really into Harley Davidson. I'm not sure if young people are into motorcycles that much these days as we were growing up, but are they into even Harley Davidson, which is still perceived as an old man or old woman's motorcycle brand as well? So even if they buy a second-hand bike, it's buying an old person's bike per se. Also, those used Harley Davidson Sportsters are actually quite expensive as well. When you compare them to the alternative brands, whether you think there's an alternative, whether you think there's a worse or better brand out there, whether it's a Chinese brand, a British brand, Italian, whatever it is, there are other brands out there, and they're a lot cheaper as used bikes, but also brand new bikes. So this for me is where Harley Davidson have failed in quite a few years now. They really haven't targeted younger riders. They haven't given young riders something to want to buy, and that they could realistically buy. Yes, of course, there's always going to be odd exceptions of young riders who've got enough money, or they've got rich parents who just want to buy them a Harley. I get that. I'm just saying, but for self-funders, people who want to buy a bike themselves, most people aren't going to be able to afford a Harley. And let's face it, most adults can't really afford the new Harleys either, certainly to buy them outright. So most of them are just going on finance deals or on the Never Never. So if an adult person can't really afford them, or is thinking twice about buying new bikes, guess what? A young rider's not going to do it. Not going to spend out that kind of money, not put themselves in debt when they've got all these other things that they want to do. Now, yes, as I say, would they buy a Harley Davidson as a used bike? Possibly, absolutely. Yeah, it really depends where you are, what your preferences are, of course. So when I look at other brands and I see what they're doing with their motorcycle lineup, and yes, you can't say it's right across the board, and some motorcycle manufacturers are exactly the same as Harley Davidson in this regard. They don't produce bikes for younger people. There are brands out there that are very selective, that they are producing high performance machines with a hefty price tag as well. I get it, I know that. This is not a Harley Davidson bashing video, although you might think it is. It isn't. It's purely a kind of a call to Harley Davidson to say, look, build some bikes for the next generation. Build bikes where young people will be enthusiastic about wanting to ride and also wanting to own, and being able to afford that as well. And this is the big challenge for a company like Harley Davidson, because we can all sit in the status quo now. We can all sit in our little pool, you know, and listen to the echo chamber of the Harley Davidson fandom world, let's say. But it's not about our generation. It's not about, you know, us with bikes for the next 20 or 30 years, if we're lucky, let's say. You know, it's actually about the next generation. Do they really want to ride a Harley Davidson? And most, I would say, it depends where you are in the world, of course, yes, but most, I would say, don't. They don't really want that. They want a sports bike. They want to go fast and everything. Now, maybe as they get older, yes, tastes change, of course they do, and many people who started off as dirt bikes and sports bikes, like I did, you know, then went into a Harley Davidson at a later life. Yeah, I get that. There's no problem there at all. But to attract young riders in the first instance, they're not doing it, and it doesn't look as if they're doing it anytime soon either. So let us know your thoughts on this. You know, Harley Davidson producing bikes for the younger generation. You know, should they be producing smaller displacement engines? Should they be producing cheaper motorcycles? Yes. You know, whether it's powered by a Chinese engine, whether it's a 500cc, 300cc, should they have a return to the AMF years with better build quality, let's say, where they had lots of small bikes, 125s, 175s, 250s, that kind of thing? Should Harley Davidson team up with a small manufacturer to build bikes that younger people would want to ride, own, have fun on, maybe work on them themselves? Maybe they should, and maybe somebody will listen to me. And regardless of what we think about Harley Davidson as a premium brand, and they can only produce bikes, you know, that people can afford because they have to be an aspirational brand, I get that. And people always comparing Harley Davidson to Ferrari, yeah, in terms of aspirational brands. I'm not so sure about that, but you know, I get the point. But for me, the motorcycle industry is not about the now. It's always been about the next generation and how you're going to keep on going for the future. Let us know your thoughts. But for now, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, like and share. Check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. Ta-ra.